All right, welcome to this lesson on graphing lines in standard form. So um, the last two lessons showed you how to graph lines when they were in slope-intercept form, and one used I believe, the slope intercept method, and the other used the table of values. And you can use either of those two, but what we need to do first is we need to convert this into slope intercept form. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to space bar this over a little bit here, and put it over to this side. And saves me rewriting it. And I'm going to show you how we basically convert this over to slope intercept form. And so what we want to do is get rid of the x term on the right hand side or left side and move it to the left side. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is get my pen turned on here. This will make a little bit more sense. Okay, so I want to get rid of the 3x. So I'm going to subtract 3x from here, and I'm going to subtract 3x on this side. And what I do is I write y equals minus 3x plus 1. And now I have my equation in slope intercept form. It was that simple. I simply just removed it over. Now, it was really easy because there was no term, no number in front of the y term, okay? There's nothing there. So this was really quite a simple question. I'm just going to put a bit better of a minus sign there. Now, I can now graph this quite easily. And what I do is I'm going to use the slope intercept method. Okay, something you should be somewhat familiar with now. I'm just going to make my screen a little smaller here so that my graph fits in. Apologize, just bear with me. Okay, there we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to take my m value, which is equals minus 3, and my y-intercept is plus 1, or is 0, 1. And I'm going to graph this. I'm going to use this information right here to graph my line. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my arrows, and I'm going to label my axes. It's one of the first things I always do. So X here, Y here. I always do it at the beginning because I tend to forget when I do it at the start, or at the end, sorry. Do it, get it done with. Gets me my marks right off the bat, okay? So my y-intercept is 1, so that means along the y-axis, where is 1? Well, 1 is right here. And so I can plot that number. Oh, that's going to disappear on me, I think. Yep. Don't ask me why. I think it has something to do with my hand touching the key. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to count. My slope is minus 3, so it's actually minus 3 over 1. This gives me my rise. This gives me my run. And it's negative, so I'm going to turn left. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1 to the left. Rise 3, run 1. Okay, and again, that's, so if I can do this a little better without touching my hand to the screen. It's a little hard. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 1 to the left, and I have another dot there. Okay. Now I'm ready to draw my line. And again, when I draw my line on the computer here, you would use a ruler, but I don't have that available to me. So I'm just going to grab my line tool, and I'm going to kind of go like this, grab, and I'm going to pull it through and kind of line it up the best I can, like that, and make it black, and I'm done. I've drawn my line. Last thing I need to do is I need to label my equation. Now, when I label it, I should always label it with the question that was in hand. So I'm just going to scroll up to see that question. It was 3x plus y equals 1. So I don't label it here with my slope-intercept form. I label it with what the question was. And so if I come back in with my pen, I got to activate my pen again, and I go like this, y, whoops, that was a mistake. I don't want to use that method. I want to use, just erase that, go back to my pen. I want to write 3x plus y equals 1. And I have now graphed that line. It's beautiful. Okay. I'm going to do one more, a little bit more complicated. Um, by the way, you can, when you get to this point here, I could create a table of values and use my table of values method. My preferred method is to use the slope intercept method. I don't know, I just like it best, but you should be familiar with also how to do a table of values because we're going to use that table of values as we move forward, graphing other things. Just in lines, it's really simple to do it using slope intercept method. All right, so let's go down. And now here we have a little bit trickier one, okay? So once again, I'm going to, I can actually make this even smaller. There we go. That makes it better for me. Whoops. Just line that up. There we go. All right, so we're going to graph this one here, 5x minus 3y equals minus 6. And this is standard form, and I want to get it into the more intercept form, okay? So one of the first things I'm going to do is move it over. I'm going to swing this over here. I'll maybe set that up on your sheet to be like that so you don't have to do it. So what we'll do is we're going to move the 5x to the other side, okay, just like we did before. So in this case, we're going to subtract 5x and we're going to subtract 5x, okay? Running out of room to write there, but I end up with minus 3y. Yes, it's still minus because the minus stays with that, okay? Minus 5x minus 6. And you'll notice I always write the minus 5x, the x term, in front of the constant term. That's just the nature of how we do things. Now I'm not done because this time I have a minus 3 in front of the y, and I have to get rid of it. And so the best way to get rid of it is just divide it by minus 3. And that's going to leave me with y here, which is exactly what I want. But now, what I'm going to do is I have to divide this by minus 3, and I have to divide this by minus 3. Everybody gets the same thing. Remember, when you do something to one side of the equation, to keep it balanced, we have to do the same thing to the other side. And so this leaves me with minus 5 divided by minus 3. Well, a minus divided by a minus actually becomes a plus. So we write that as just 5 over 3. We don't even write the plus because it's assumed, okay? If we don't need to. We could write the plus. It's not like if I put a plus here that it makes it wrong. And the same thing here, minus and divided by a minus is going to become a plus, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. And so there's our new equation. Y equals 5 over 3x plus 2. And I can graph it again using slope-intercept form. So my slope, m, equals 5 over 3. So that tells me my rise. This tells me my run. And then over here, I have my y-intercept. It equals 2. Okay. And now I'm ready to graph it. So first thing I do, label my arrows on my graph. And I'm going to write x here and a y here to label my axes. Where on the y-intercept is 2? Well, up and down 2. If this is 0, it's going to be right here. So I've labeled the 2 there. Now I use my rise and my run to determine my basically my slope and my next points on the line. So I go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3 for my run, and I go with my run to the right. And there I have 2 points. Now I can't continue to go up, right? So instead I'm going to go down. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to go 3, 1, 2, 3 here, and that's going to give me another point. That gives me 2 points that I can plot on my graph. Okay, so again, I lost my point there. I'll just try it again. It's going to disappear again, I think. Yep, it just doesn't like me. There we go. I think that's going to work. Now I'm ready to graph my line or draw my line. So I go Insert, Shapes, grab my shape here, and I'm going to click basically right on this point. and I'm going to go right through the other 2 points, and it just works so nice. And I can actually grab this end and kind of extend it out. Remember, we don't like to make our lines that they go from point to point, but they extend beyond the points. That's just, lines do that. They go in both directions forever. And I now have my line graphed. And the last thing I need to do is I simply need to um, label my graph as my final thing. So I'll just get my pen back turned on and I'll label it. And again, I'm going to label it with what was given in the question. Okay, so I just draw a little line indicating that I'm pointing to that line. 5x minus 3y equals minus 6, and I'm all done. Okay, so that's graphing lines in standard form, and you can now go try working on some of those questions. That's it for today.